Adriana, today Russia warned that U.S. weapons sent to Ukraine are legitimate targets.
I can tell you it was a surreal scene here near the U.S. Capitol. As an alphabet soup of law enforcement agencies, they had to shut down blocks and they had to negotiate with this suspect for 5 hours.
Saturday will mark 20 years since the terror attacks that prompted the invasion of Afghanistan. And this week, the trial for the men accused of plotting the 9/11 attacks resumes after a 19-month pause due to COVID-19. It was the latest obstacle in a case marked by delay and secrecy.
Do you think this unit saved your life?
Yeah.
Why do you think people don't know so much about this place?
People didn't want this school in this community.
Call that fate or God?
I'm not a religious person, so, my God saved me.
What's fueling this travel boom is the latest advisory from the CDC. He was asked about it point blank, Jerika, and he seemed unfazed, saying that this chaos would happen no matter when the U.S. withdrew, and then he defended his decision. Russian officials have accused Ukraine of staging scenes like the one in Bucha. In his recommendations, the Inspector General said that the U.S. Capitol Police needs to overhaul its intelligence collection, operational planning, and culture. The guidance in no way encourages Americans to throw out their masks. The CDC is still calling on people to wear them on public transport and in hospitals, prisons, and homeless shelters. Adriana, today Russia warned that U.S. weapons sent to Ukraine are legitimate targets. This as President Biden says that Moscow may be ready for a chemical attack.
Russia would pay a severe price if they used chemical weapons.
President Biden did not say what that severe price may be, but the administration has repeatedly said he won't send U.S. troops to Ukraine. On Friday, the president severely restricted Russia's ability to trade and took direct aim at Putin allies.
They support Putin. They steal from the Russian people.
European partners are also targeting those closest to Putin. Italian officials seized the super yacht of Putin ally and billionaire Andrei Igorovich Melnichenko. It's thought to be the largest sailing yacht in the world, worth more than $570 million. As more than 100 U.S. troops deployed to Europe to assist NATO allies, today Vice President Kamala Harris underscored the alliance's support for Ukraine.
When democracy is threatened anywhere, it threatens us all.
Earlier this week, Congress passed a spending bill with about $13.6 billion in aid for Ukraine. President Biden plans to sign that next week. Adriana? What has become the most notorious monuments to one of the most controversial figures of the Civil War came down gently but decisively this morning. The largest Confederate statue in the country has now been removed. The 131-year-old bronze statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee was quickly dismantled at the torso and hauled away in pieces. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam ordered the statue removed last year, following the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis.
Monuments like these are no longer necessary. This should be a space for everybody to feel welcome and comfortable.
Nearly 170 Confederate symbols, monuments, and school names were removed or renamed in 2020 alone. More than 2,000 symbols remain. Devon Henry is the owner of the construction company that took down the statue.
We got it done. We're here. A lot of people are happy. Some people are not. But at the end of the day, guess what? It's down.
And tomorrow, crews will remove those plaques from the base of the monument. Now, the statue itself is being held on undisclosed state property, according to the governor's office, until an appropriate permanent location can be found for its display. Nora?
Debra Alfarone, thank you.
Circle, square, heart, triangle.
You could call 8-year-old Mackenzie, 6-year-old Mitt, and 3-year-old Caleb puzzle experts.
So do you guys have a strategy for puzzles?
Yes, normally we start with the head of people.
And while people have long been featured in puzzles, they don't always reflect the children putting the pieces together. And that's what inspired parents Matt and Marnell Goins to create Puzzle Huddle, using inclusive images commissioned by artists.
I think about the drawings that I used to do as a kid, and I remember drawing like girls with blonde hair because that's what I saw.
These Howard University grads wanted their kids to see themselves.
There's quite a bit of diversity in what might be considered African American, and look for images that really affirm my particular child's skin tone and her hair texture and her eye color. That became very important and I thought potentially powerful.
Now that potential has grown from a few printouts cut with scissors into dozens of puzzles featuring diverse drawings of black and brown future doctors, astronauts, scientists, and presidents.
I thought that might do wonders to affirm a kid and feeling confident about how they show up in the world.
Turns out lots of people agreed, and boxes of puzzles began to take over just about every corner of the Goins' Washington, D.C. home. So earlier this year, the young company moved into a warehouse. Matthew says he started Puzzle Huddle to inspire children. Now his are inspiring him.
They're very vocal about challenging my framework for diversity.
Ooh, you did it! Now what do you see here?
I see different shades of brown.
Is that important to you?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
It doesn't matter your skin color because everyone's unique in their own different ways.
Thanks to Puzzle Huddle, seeing someone who looks like you no longer has to be a missing piece. Debra Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Welcome back to CBS Saturday Morning. We begin this half hour with an effort to preserve and celebrate Black history. For decades, St. Emma was the nation's only military academy dedicated exclusively to educating young Black men. Thousands graduated in its 70-plus-year existence. While much of the school is gone, the lessons instilled in its graduates run deep. And that's what's fueling the drive to have history acknowledge this exceptional school. Debra Alfarone reports.
Down a gated road, past a forgotten cemetery, in a small Virginia community called Powhatan, sits a little-known trace of African-American history.
Even the Powhatan Historical Society, they don't have any history of St. Emma.
But St. Emma Military Academy existed, along with its sister school for young women, St. Francis de Sales. From 1895 until 1972, thousands of young African-American men and women attended school here, including Bob Walker and Eugene Butler.
And that's me.
There I am right there.
And
that's me right there.
Right there. Back there.
And we didn't know each other at all.
We didn't know each other. Yeah.
Why do you think people don't know so much about this place?
People didn't want this school in this community. You know, a lot of prejudice and racism was going on.
The site was built at a time when racial segregation forbade African-American children from attending schools with white children.
The education of African Americans at that time, okay, at a time that things were very, very difficult. A bunch of young men and a bunch of young ladies from St. Francis, they're getting groomed to be better, groomed to work in society.
Walker, class of 65, and Butler, class of 68, say the rigorous training and education they received in this secluded setting shaped their character forever.
Discipline.
Yes.
A structured lifestyle.
Yes. Humility.
Trust.
Yes.
You know, commitment.
Brothership.
Walker went on to join the Marines, and Butler became a physician's assistant. They largely credit this man, the commandant of the academy, Father Figaro, with shaping them into who they are today.
If things weren't going your way, he would say, tough, deal with it, and move on, because we're not here to stand still.
But it wasn't all work and no play. The two friends show me pictures from when they would attend socials with the young ladies of St. Francis.
If you got too close, they would come in between you and back you up. Yes, you back you up.
Some of the nuns carried rulers.
Yes,
you know,
measure.
You got to have this much distance between you dancing.
It wasn't until years later they learned what this land once was.
We didn't know this was a plantation. We came here. I came from New York. I'm back in these woods. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was a plantation until we graduated.
A cemetery on the same land as their former classrooms is a final resting place for 130 enslaved people who built the institution that gave them so much.
We're standing on the shoulders of those people.
This was an area of enslavement that turned to empowerment.
Behind us is a beautiful Gothic Revival mansion that was built by a Confederate general basically in the 1840s.
The schools have been closed for 50 years. Walker and Butler are teaming up with the land's new owner and historian John Plaschel to keep the story of St. Emma and St. Francis, or what's left of it, alive.
When I came back up here years ago and I saw there was nothing here, it was devastating to me. Because I was wondering, why would they take these buildings and implode these buildings and leave the big house, which was the plantation mansion? And that was it. And the chapel and St. Peter Claver, Morale Hall, the agricultural buildings, the gymnasium that they had just built in 1972, I believe. Oh, wow. And just all gone.
Plaschel started leading tours of the academy nearly 2 years ago in an effort to raise funds for a commemorative marker or museum. And the school recently gained the attention of the Smithsonian.
We finally got our foot in the door.
Yeah. That's why we've worked so hard to get to this point. And we want to continue, no matter what it takes. It is a legacy, a history that needs to be told. A group of individuals that were educated here, that went on to be positive people in society. Absolutely.
Embodying a lesson they learned more than 50 years ago from their role model, never give up. For CBS Saturday Morning, Debra Alfarone, Powhatan, Virginia.